What do I feel about roller skating? What am I saying? I feel cautiously optimistic about roller skating.
Hi, I'm Mean Bean, and this is Feels on Wheels, a talk show about roller skating. Today I am interviewing a very special guest, Mix Suralot, also known as Alicia. Mix uses any pronouns, and they are a roller derby player with Ottawa Valley Roller Derby, and they also shred at the skate park. Mix has played for other local leagues as well, including Ottawa Roller Derby and Kingston Roller Derby. Alicia is the owner of Rideau Rollers, the queer-owned roller skating shop in Ottawa, Ontario. Mix, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How long ago did you start skating?
I've been roller skating 6-7 years now. I started before the pandemic. I've had a few injuries, so I've had periods of being off skates, periods of NSOing.
What kind of skating did you start with?
So I started out doing roller derby, and I almost immediately broke my ankle. It was my first league practice after finishing a 101 because I was wearing skates that didn't fit. And so I broke my ankle, and then I got involved with volunteering, and I score caught and penalty box managed before I actually got to play in a game, basically. And then during the pandemic, I did a lot of outdoor skating just for fitness, taught myself some footwork, and yeah, I've come back and doing a lot of roller derby now. I love the skate park, but I've been very busy and haven't had the time.
Since you just started and you broke your ankle, you must have really fell in love with derby to go back to derby after breaking your ankle, because that's a pretty serious injury.
I started doing the 101 because I went to school for computer engineering, and I've worked always in kind of the high tech field. It's very male dominated, and I didn't have a lot of friends in Ottawa, and I was looking for a way to meet people. I had no skating background or anything. I was completely clueless. Yeah, I thought it'd be cool, and I thought it'd be a good way to meet queer women and non-binary people. And it was. I met a lot of great people, and I really liked the community, and they were super, super nice about encouraging me to come and still attend practices and volunteer and be involved in the community, even when I was on crutches. I did a lot of cross stitch. I've never done cross stitching since then, but the first time I broke my ankle, I cross stitched 7 things. I was just at practice with all my stupid thread. Yeah.
Did you actually break your ankles 3 times?
Yes. So the first time I broke my ankle because I was wearing skates that didn't fit, and I was toe stop running, and I was very new, and I didn't have any strength in my lower legs. The second time I was at a skate park in Montreal. That was the worst. I did a 180 in a half pipe, and I just completely came down sideways. And it was right at the beginning of the night. I wasn't even warmed up. I didn't respect my own limits. I was all hyped up about going on a road trip. And super buzzkill. Oh my God. All these people, it's a fun, we're all going to go to the skate park and hang out. Fortunately, my friend Baywatch, who was also one of the coaches at the time who was teaching me derby, her sister's an orthopedic surgeon, and she was there, and she grabs my leg and she's like, it's broken immediately. I was lying in the half pipe and I was like, I think it's broken. And she's like, yeah, it's broken. And reduced it just on the spot. I ended up having open reduction internal fixation surgery. So I have pins and plates in there in the left one now. But yeah, at the time, she was just holding it together with her hands to make it try to recover better.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay, what about the third one?
Yeah, that was just a minor avulsion. It turns out I have kind of a genetic hypermobility in my joints. So I didn't think about this when I started derby or whatever, but over time it's kind of come out that a bunch of people in my family have this. And I just have really mobile joints. And so my ankles are just naturally very flexible. And I was backward skating and I went under, and it's just called an avulsion. The tendon just kind of pulled the tip of the bone off. So it wasn't really severe. I could walk on it, but I did go to the hospital. I was driving a stick shift car at the time too. So I didn't drive my car for a little bit because my clutch feel was not great. They were all avoidable.
Oh, you still drive standard?
No,
Okay.
I got an automatic because, so a big part of roller derby is obviously going on road trips and even skate park. And you need someone else to be able to drive your car. Just if you get injured in the game for whatever reason, it's just really beneficial. Or even if I'm just tired. As a queer person, nobody in my life drives. My wife doesn't drive. My friends don't drive. When you're the gay person who can drive, you have a tremendous responsibility on you at all times. So having a stick shift car and being gay was this Venn diagram where nobody could ever drive my car, and it was exhausting. So now I have an automatic Subaru instead.
In a male-dominated field, I've seen you shred at the local skate park here, which is so busy and really intimidating and very male dominated. So you really seem like you just fit right in, you know exactly what to do. How did you get to the point where you just flow so easily in the skate park with all these dudes on skateboards?
Yeah, so our local skate park is Charlie Bowen's, which was designed by the Ottawa Skateboard Association and is really close to the store. I did spend a lot of time going early mornings. And the great thing about early mornings is that the kind of people that are a little bit more aggro about taking up space and like getting mad at you and stuff aren't awake yet. So I would go, and it usually was me and it was Gloria and chill dads. Just the vibes are so chill. I'll do a run and then they'll take a break. So there's a lot of downtime and you kind of learn to just like work in your lines and stuff. Charlie is really great because it's a pretty spread out like a street style park. It's not like having to take turns in like half pipe or something where you got to go now or you miss your turn kind of thing. But like my home park, I can kind of read, these are the places where I would drop in, where I would do a slide. Then you have a flow and then you're more confident when it's busy. You wait for your turn, you take your turn. I've gone to other places. You have to watch how people are moving in the park to make sure you're not snaking people and stuff. Part of the reason why I ended up breaking my ankle in Montreal, I think, was because I'm not a big mini ramp skater. I just felt a lot of pressure. Oh, it's my turn. I have to go. And I have to do something cool. And there's like 10 people standing on the deck just watching me take my turn. It's not the style that I'm used to because in Ottawa, we have a lot more street stuff. So that's always been what I've been a little more comfortable with. And yeah, I think that contributed, just like feeling too much kind of pressure and like anxiety. Well, I don't want to say there were no men there or anything, but like that was like a very like inclusive, gender expansive. Like I didn't feel any pressure because of the people who were there. If anything, I was like, oh, it's a lot of like hot queer people. And like that was anxiety provoking in its own way. When it's dudes is better. Like I can think like, oh, fuck them, like they're dudes, I don't care. Please still come shop at my store. I know lots of cool skate park dudes, but I just mean like when there's guys with bad attitudes or something, like I'm used to that. That's not something that I'm like afraid of. Right. I'm honestly more afraid of being judged by like people that I respect who I like them and I want them to be my friend, so.
That's so valid.
Yeah.
Back to Derby. Have you felt like your personality changed at all since you started Derby?
You've known me. Wait, has my personality changed?
No, well, I haven't really started. I mean, you're a little more grumpy now. No, I'm just kidding.
Probably.
I'm kidding. Pre-Derby, Alicia, versus now.
I think as an adult, you don't do things that you're bad at very often. It's rare as an adult that you pick up a new thing and you just suck shit. I was 27, 28 when I started. Had a career. I'd been working for, 5 or 6 years. I was like very established kind of senior engineer. I was in a stable relationship. I wasn't taking a lot of L's. Use super dated language that I'm sure the kids are Gen Z correspondent. Can I say taking L's or is that still understood or is that going to be cringe? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Gen Z approved.
Gen Z approved. You get to a point in your life where you're not putting yourself out there. You're not taking as many risks. And so I think that's a big thing for a lot of people when they start Derby is that either they find it really liberating, like they go and they suck at it and they're like, oh, this is great. It's like a challenge. It's a fun thing. It's a safe space. I wasn't a big sports person before. Like I ran and I cycled, but like didn't do team sports. Yeah, it was just like a whole new experience and like super, super grateful to have that chance to like explore a new facet of my personality. It's a very vulnerable place to put yourself in your late 20s. Yeah, I probably have changed. I do think it leads to confidence, but also probably humility and just like a willingness to be bad at things in front of people and not care as much. So, and it's made me more confident about gender stuff and my dress and how I present and different pronouns and stuff like that. I feel a little bit almost like bulletproof, like, oh, it's fine. Like I'm going to be really self-assured, and I don't feel like that inside all the time, but I do feel like it's given me the ability to project that,
I love that. Can you please expand on Derby being a safe space?
It's really just about seeing what's out there and what's possible. I started showing up to Derby and I was like, I'm a they them lesbian, like, I'm non-binary, but I'm also a lesbian. And it just made sense to me. Like that label never was really, and I have friends who use similar labels and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like skate with people now who have been like, oh, like I'm also non-binary lesbian, but I thought there was like an inherent contradiction in those terms and you had to be like she, her. They had just like hang-ups about identifying that way. And they were like, oh, but you were like an example. Like, just came, broke the ice, said this, and they were like, they saw themselves in that. And it's the same thing though, that it's happened for me as well, that I was at practice and there's a skater who uses any pronouns and we're just going around doing names and pronouns at the beginning. And they're like, any pronouns? And I was like, yeah, they're like younger, but then also like people who are, seeing my experience are also younger than me. So like It's not about like, oh, I'm the elder queer and I know myself and you don't know yourself yet and you need to go to therapy or something. It's literally just like have different experiences and different stuff that we're carrying with us. And obviously, yeah, there are people who have like picked me up off the floor when I was trying not to cry because I broke my ankle. I'm just like really comfortable being vulnerable with these people and like trying stuff. And it's really great to have a space like that.
And it's kind of funny and contradictory in a way that Derby is a safe space, but you're also hitting each other really hard. Did you realize that you would enjoy, I don't want to say the violence of Derby, but enjoy that aspect of Derby as much as you do?
People think of derby as because it's a contact sport, that means that it's violent. But I mean, we have so many rules about making contact with people. I want to say like we are good about consent for one thing, like, especially at practices, at scrimmages and things like that. Like we talk to each other about intensity, like we ramp up gradually. And like in general, I don't skate with anyone who's using more force than is necessary. You're not trying to be an asshole and blow your friends off the track. If you can positionally hold someone, if I'm skating against someone who's half my size and they're a newer skater, if they're experienced, some people I skate with that they're 5 feet tall, but they kick my ass. If they're a newer skater, I'm not going to just hip check them and send them flying in the air. That's not fun for them. That's not what I need to do to play the game. There's no strategic value to that, right? I need to be in control. I need to be using my body in a way to control other people's position on the track. I have gotten blown away a few times, and especially by, shout out Jenna Harding, Team Canada.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. She hits like a fucking train, and she's laid me out a few times, but it's always like very fun. I know how to fall safe. Yeah, so that's how I feel about derby, is that I don't feel like it's violent. We use our bodies and we're respectful of each other, and sometimes that involves me getting smeared across the floor, but like in a fun way.
Mix Sir a lot.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, there's Sir Mix-a-Lot. The most famous thing about him is that he cannot lie. And if you reverse some of the letters, then it's mix. So mix is like a gender neutral salutation. I'm kind of beefy. I do some gym stuff now. So sometimes I get read as mask, and like that's Sir a lot, When I first came up with it, it was like a little bit more self-deprecating because I was like, oh, haha, like people calling me Sir. But I just own it now, and it's actually just really fun. Yeah.
It's also great short form. Like mix is really easy to say.
This is my soapbox. So we're doing 101 right now, and I've been helping to coach the 101s. You teed me up for this because you're okay. Oh, and we were talking about getting scrimmage tanks and doing derby names and picking numbers and stuff. Yeah, you gotta pick a derby name that people can like yell at you easily, or else they're gonna yell something else. Like they're gonna yell your real name or something. Yeah, so I was telling the 101s, yeah, my pet peeve and stuff. And this wasn't told to me when I was doing 101 and stuff and when I was fresh either, but it came up when I was in Montreal doing boot camp with the skids that they do every year. And we had a scrimmage on the second day, and they were just like very no nonsense about it. They were just like, what's your derby name? They were going to be on the track with us. They were like, what do we call you? And people would be like, oh, Felkor, the destroyer of souls. And it's like, okay, sick name, man, but like, we're not going to say that. What is the 1 syllable or 2 syllable? Because derby is loud and chaotic. That was kind of a lesson that I learned after I had picked my first derby name.
What was your first derby name?
It was Coco Flanell, which is really funny. But she was a Nazi collaborator. That's why my number was 500, because it was like Chanel number 5, but like 100. It's not cool. Someone pointed that out to me, and I changed it, and it's better because I don't want to be called Coco.
Okay, so smash or pass.
We're doing it. Okay.
Smash or pass, going fast when you're sticky skating.
Oh. Once again, okay, yeah, you've watched me coaching 101. My philosophy of 101 in general is you need to learn the body position for the different moves. You need to be able to foot plow. You need to understand where you're putting your weight on your edges. A lot of people, unless they're coming from a sport that has a lot of transferable skills, honestly, they need to do one-legged squats. Strengthening your glutes is strengthening your quads, is building that mind-body connection, because that's always people's biggest weakness. It's not about knowing, it's about like your body being able to do the movement. And a lot of that is off-skate mobility, flexibility, strength stuff that you can do. So, and what this means about sticky skating and what we talked about on the weekend when I was helping to coach the 101s and talking too much was that I really like sticky skating drills where you go bubble and then you come to a complete stop, bubble and you come to a complete stop, and you stay low and you don't let yourself come up the whole time. And you just do that until your ass burns and your legs burn and everything burns, because getting used to that lactic acid buildup, getting used to using those muscles Sticky skating fast is not impressive. That's the easiest way to do it. You see people cheat and beginners give themselves a rolling head start to avoid the muscular involvement of getting started. And it's like, no, no, no. Just practice getting started. That's going to pay dividends. And I didn't know that when I started. So I was zooming around the gym and I was like, oh, I'm so good at sticky skating. And it didn't matter.
Everybody followed your directions. You've put the fear of God in us.
Yeah, because I'm too mean to do 101 is what I realized.
At least very passionate.
I always a bit too matter of fact. And so we have other coaches, fortunately, who are friendly, who, are nice to the 101s. And then I just kind of dip in and I'm like, by the way, guys, if you're not doing hamstring curl 3 days a week, I'm never going to be good at derby. By the way, guys, lift.
Okay, smash or pass off skates exercises.
Yeah,
I guess I know the
smash,
answer.
Smash, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
5 days a week.
Okay, and smash or pass traveling to play a derby game?
Light smash. Yeah, it's so much fun. I love going with my teammates. I had a road trip for a tournament in Quebec City last season. Shout out Quebec City. Thank you for organizing that. Yeah, it was super, super fun. And it's just like a sleepover. You stay in a hotel with your friends and you're all bunking like 4 to a room, and just the goofiest time with my derby pals. And then also we played roller derby, which is kind of almost ancillary to like the experience.
RollerCon, smash or pass?
Well, I mean, I got to admit, I did pass this year. I think RollerCon is a lot of fun. Personally, the way that my life is, I want to have a vacation that's not roller skating related at this point. I did RollerCon the first year that I opened the store. It was great. I had a much better work-life balance at that point. I own the store, and then I also have a day job. And then my day job has gotten really demanding. I had tickets and everything. I had my flight booked, and I leaked the cost this year because as much as I wanted to go, I remember last year it's really for me at travel. I'm very worried about COVID. When I get sick, it blows up my whole schedule. I think it's a great experience. I had a lot of fun the first time. I got to meet a lot of people. You got to choose your own adventure. Like, nobody holds your hand. I was really aggressive the first year about booking workshops and standing in line and waiting for workshops, to the point that volunteer turned me away. I showed up, I wanted to do a jamming workshop with Miracle Whips, and I got in line so early because I knew it was going to fill up, that the volunteer was like, you're not allowed to stand in line this early. And I was like, I don't have anything else to do. And they were just like, the line hasn't started yet. Can't be here. So I'm really sorry to the RollerCon people who had to put up with me. I just couldn't get into the groove of signing up for games. I played one game. I got my ass absolutely beat by a bunch of super, super double A Murda players. If you've got the downtime and the commitment and energy to do that, it's a great experience. But yeah, I would rather, sit on a beach and take a week off.
You ever get sick of roller skating? Because you own a roller skate shop. You were playing for 2 leagues, which is a huge time commitment.
The thing is, there's a lot of different facets to it, right? Being involved with a roller derby league, going to skate at practices, I'm not always in the mood. I also work out a lot off skates, so sometimes I'm sore or I'm feeling run down or I'm tired from there's stuff in my life. I find going to practices generally is pretty life-giving. It's one of those activities that even if I'm not feeling 100%, I go, I do what I can. I'm going to go and I'm going to give some newer skaters advice, or I'm going to go and I'm going to ref at a scrimmage or something. There's different ways to participate where I still get to kind of see my people and feels good. And being on skates a couple times a week at least is last, just to keep remembering how to stand up on skates. I would just keep practicing all year round. The store, I love talking to people. I love helping people solve problems with their skates, their setups, helping them find gear that works for them. I love bringing in new stuff. It's all the boring stuff that gets you down, cash flow management and advertising. I hate social media. I'm trying to find someone to be a social media consultant for the store right now. I don't think of them as skating things. They're business things. I have friends who own all kinds of different businesses, and we all have the same problems. How do you make your Instagram account look good? How do you get noticed online? How do you make sure you're paying your taxes?
That's an important one.
Yeah. It's so mundane, right? Nobody, well, you're an accountant, so I guess maybe you enjoy that stuff. But
no, not really.
Okay, yeah. So if even accountants don't enjoy doing taxes, then me going into my QuickBooks and sorting my receipts is not, a life-giving kind of affirming activity. There's marginal stuff, setting up on game days and stuff can be stressful. Lead up to game days, I put a lot of pressure on myself about doing a good job and trying to make sure I'm fueled well and hydrated and rested. And sometimes that gets paradoxical where you're putting so much pressure on yourself, you do a worse job. So mental game of competitive can be kind of tough. We're all trying to stay alive under capitalism is really the hardest, most soul crushing part at this point. Derby is a really great community where I just show up and I do a thing and it's like fun. And the same with the skate park, especially when I had more flexible work and I was able to take more time off in the mornings and stuff. Like I was at the skate park more and I was getting outside and I was enjoying it. It's really capitalism is the villain. Yeah, and it just makes everything worse.
It's true.
I guess my point is, yeah, I don't get sick of skating. I get sick of capitalism and the stuff I have to do to make skating possible, you know?
Mic drop. How you started Rideau Rollers in the first place, because you were literally operating out of your house, like bringing boxes of skates to practice, and now you have a full-on shop.
There's brands that will work with you if you don't have a traditional brick and mortar, and there's brands that won't. I found some brands where they were willing to just do wholesale and just basically let me do that like onesie-twosie thing. So initially I just had like one brand of skates, I had some helmets, I had a few brands that were like distributors were willing to work with me, and so I was able to get stuff wholesale. And yeah, I would just have friends over to my house. It feels very DIY, punk rock, roller derby, to be selling people just pads out of your house. People would come and meet my dog and sit on my couch and buy on their skates.
Hey, I bought a helmet from you from your house and I never met your dog.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Now people just buy stuff online. And it kind of is a bummer because like buying things online from manufacturer's website isn't really better than buying them from someone in their living room. It's kind of just objectively worse because you didn't get to try them on. At least the person trying stuff on in their living room, like they might have 2 sizes you could try or something. When I was selling out of my house, it was really about like in tech, we have this whole minimum viable product where it's like, you know, if you want to prove that it's worth making something, build the worst, shittiest, cheapest version of it that solves the problem and see if people like it, right? So that was my minimum viable skate shop. If people are willing to come to my house and I'm so busy, then I was like, well, I guess maybe there's demand. I ended up going ahead with opening the store. It was a great opportunity. It was a really great coincidence that I was opening my store and I had funding and I had the space lined up and I had, you know, my orders were coming in, and there would also be a roller rink in town. There was the quad skating club. There were some venues like through the city that were starting to let people roller skate indoors because it had really taken off during the pandemic. All of those things taken together, I was like, okay, this is the inflection point of I've outgrown selling in my house. Keep getting more and more questions about like, why don't you sell X? Why don't you sell Y? So I was like, yeah, okay, I can bring in X and Y, have better hours for people, make it more convenient. My wife is going to stop having to like hide in the kitchen while I'm doing fitting. And yeah, here we are now. It's been like 18 months almost. Yeah, basically everything in here is kind of DIY. We pay our employees a living wage, like a certified living wage employer. You know, we pay rent, taxes, overhead for like carrying inventory and stuff. That's it. It's designed to be as cheap as I can make it because there's not a ton of money for a new start shop. You just have to keep it super, super cheap.
And you still manage to sponsor local derby clubs and...
Yeah, that's the backbone of getting the word out there, especially for online, which is so big for us. We have a good location. We're very visible in central Ottawa. But yeah, like to grow online and even just to like be present at events and like able at games out of town, like we go to Kingston games. I really wanted to go table at the Put Up Your Tukes tournament that Tri-City put on. And I just couldn't make the timing work and the staffing and stuff. They were in the North American Northeast champ bracket, and we sponsored their playoffs run and everything. But yeah, so we sponsor Ottawa Valley, we sponsor Kingston. We've done some deals with other leagues to get them like discounts for their skaters and stuff as well. So yeah, we're super, super open to that. Derby people are like word of mouth advertising.
And I feel like I have to address the skeleton in the room.
My friend Joe was working at the store. They brought the skeleton. This skeleton is on loan. The skeleton is wearing our fantastic See You Never t-shirt from Love Struck Prince in Montreal. It says See You Never. And they're wearing roller skates, and it does say Rideau Rollers.
There we go, we have our commercial.
Yeah.
Do you smell that? Shower in the gun. Stinky here, here's Are you old? Egg congratulations. Do you lose your wheels? Cover your ass.
Visit Rideau Rollers in person or online at rideaurollers.com.
Smash or pass? Playing derby with your spouse.
Honestly, hard smash. Yeah, my wife is doing like 101 right now with the roller derby league. She's a new skater. It's a lot of fun. It's so nice to be able to share that because so much of my free time is spent doing derby stuff. And, you know, she's been at a lot of games. She's been super supportive of the store, obviously. And oftentimes she's, running the table while I'm out playing. She'll be, selling stuff to people at halftime. And it's been really nice, Jasmine, doing the 101. Yeah, it's nice to share it with her. It's a big part of my life, obviously, and she's been really involved. And just, I think she's having a similar experience of it too, of just like getting to meet new people. And there's the trauma bonding of like doing 101 with other people. She's like friends basically just because they're both like, wow, this sucks. Like, is your wife making me do squats? And Jasmine's like, yeah, that's what Alex is like all the time, And yeah, so now everyone sees what a terrible person I am, and they can they can relate. Instructors, we all bring a different lens to it, right? And so like some of the other instructors are more the moderating influence, and then I'm the like, by the way, if you want to not be able to stand up tomorrow, this is how you should do the drill.
You're not that bad, honestly. It was fun.
I'm not that bad. I should get that. I'm gonna do a shirt of that. I'm not that bad.
Not that bad.
Yeah.
It was great. Yes, it was painful, but it was fine. It was great advice. So anxiety. You want to talk about anxiety in Derby?
Yeah. I mean, I can talk about it to the extent that I can be like, I have it. It comes in waves kind of, but I skate with people who've been skating for like over a decade at this point. I do feel like we all kind of build up our own expectations for ourselves. And it's very hard to get to a place where you're just content with your own performance. Even if you're a vet who's been skating for years, like you're always gonna be your own harshest critic and like pay the most attention to your own performance. I've gotten feedback from people who are like, you gotta be less negative self-talky, because the less experienced skaters will like hear that and pick up on that, and they'll be like, oh, you're doing this and I'm doing this, and like you're being hard on yourself, so like what does that mean about me? It's just because like we're always looking up at the next level over the trajectory of like being in Derby. There's these steps, 101, you kind of build up your confidence a little bit, you get better at skating, you join the league, and then you're like the bottom rung of the league, and then you build up your confidence and you maybe go to fresh, you've played a bout or two, and there's new freshies who come in, and you're kind of like, oh, I remember when I have a year of experience now, I've bouted. Like, guys are like fresh, and you get to be like a little bit better, but then you're like, oh, well, I'll try out for the B team, and then you get to be the worst person on the B team. And then you play on the B team for a couple years, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll try out for the A team. And you get to be the worst person on the A team. And then you're good on the A team, but then you want to play with Team Ontario, or you want to go for Team Canada, or you're like, oh, maybe I'll move to Montreal and try to play for the Skids. That's probably not inherent to everyone, but like a lot of people that I know that I skate with who like feel anxious and talk about that kind of stuff do have that experience. However good you get, there's always going to be another step that you can kind of aspire to if you're really into it. With the amount of time and energy that it takes to be even just like competent travel team skater, right? You're looking at like probably 3 practices a week. You're skating for like 6 or 8 hours a week, plus like skate training and like viewing footage. It's just a big time commitment. I get a lot of joy from just skating with my team and helping the 101s. Like, honestly, like coaching has been really fun and rewarding because I know the way that I'm wired, I'm not going to give up on trying to be better, but like the way that I'm built, I think I'm going to be a little bit aspirational about it. But those aspirations have to be attainable. I can be like, oh, I'm going to get better at these things that my coaches have given me feedback on. I'm going to practice this skill that I've gotten better at, like toe stop spinning and stuff. I'm more spinny than I was last season. That's a fun, just kind of like skill that I haven't actually started doing this, but maybe if I tell you about this, it'll like hold me accountable.
Yep.
So my goal for this season is to do a Derby journal. Have a nice journal. It's paper. I'm going to bring a pen to practices, and I'm just going to like, what did we work on? What did I take away from it? What are my good, bad, ugly of the practice? How am I feeling? Actually trying to be deliberate about structuring my own kind of progression, because I do think I've like reached a point, once you've been doing it for a couple years, you definitely see diminishing returns. The first couple of years of Derby, like, you just show up consistently, you get more game brain, you can read situations, you're more agile on your skates, you're more used to it, you're getting more fit. Like, that's all good. 3 to 5 years in, you're pretty comfortable on your skates. You can kind of read situations. If you want to be really good, you want to react faster, you want to do specific moves, you want to be able to work on specific strategies and stuff. That's deliberate practice. That's like drilling things, that's working with your team. So I'm kind of trying to move into my deliberate practice era from my chaotic gremlin just shows up at practice and does whatever era. That's part of why I'm really passionate about coaching, is because I do want to help people actually understand the movement. I don't think I'm going to be able to explain it in a way that works for everyone, but I do want to A, help people understand the movement, and B, break it down into the individual, whether it's a strength thing, whether it's a flexibility thing, a balance thing, just like a body positioning, like proprioception. You can get a lot more economy out of your practice time because you only have so much time on skates. You want to be doing the hard part and the part that you're bad at, basically. Yeah, so it's a big pet peeve of mine when people don't break things down for beginners, and also when drills are not structured in a way that emphasizes the hard part, like the bubbles going fast or something.
Okay, so you're very deliberate and intentional with your practice. You're talking about journaling your practices. We've made the travel team, the Rapids, with Ottawa Valley Roller Derby last year. What are your future goals for Derby?
I don't have a really clearly defined goal. Making the Rapids last year, and I'm not saying this to be self-deprecating or anything, but like I've had a really accelerated trajectory in Derby because of the pandemic, basically. Because I had a lot of downtime. I was also like unemployed at one point in there, and I had a lot of downtime to practice skating. And I think that it was a point in my development where I had done enough skating that just drilling deliberate practice on skates for things like hockey stops and goalie slides and stuff like actually was beneficial. Nowadays, I don't know that going and spending 2 hours at the rink every day would give me the same returns unless I was setting up specific drills and stuff. But like back then, just doing footwork for 2 hours a day, I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm really like getting this footwork solid. So like that was really beneficial. And then also we've been rebuilding the league, right? And so I'm just here at a time when there's just not as many people. And honestly, it is just a numbers game. There's 20 spots on the roster. And I was a relief jammer. I think a lot of it is coachability, hopefully, and like commitment and just showing up and being like, look at, like I know I'm not where the other people that I'm skating with are like 10 plus year vets, pretty much universally. And they're amazing skaters. And then I was also there. So like, it was a really great opportunity and it was really fun to travel with them. This year, I think it's going to be more chill. We have more capacity now and we're going to have a B team. And I think I'm going to be on the B team. And I think that's probably the right place. And like back in the day when there were more people in the league, like, I don't think I ever would have peaked so soon. The B team's going to travel with the A team, so I still get to hang out with all my buddies. I think right now what I'm trying to do is kind of see how far I can go with gymming. I know there's lots of room for me to improve. I want to keep pushing that until I get to a point where I'm like, well, my body doesn't want to do this, or like I don't want to put in the cross training. I think I'm going to reach a point where it's just going to make more sense to move into blocking for a travel team or getting more involved in coaching or reffing or NSOing or something. But really my goal, is just to like see how far I can go. I'm just happy to be out there and like I like to travel with my friends. I just want to be included.
I think I'm out of questions.
I really left it all on the track here. I really,
It was awesome. Yeah, you had some really good stuff in there, so I really loved it.
Cut it down to like a tight minute. And then
There's no way that's possible.
Maybe 5 even.